Are you ready to level up your entrepreneurship? Well, what's the one thing that you can do today that will change everything? Level up. Welcome to Reinventing Perspectives, the show that's all about wealth creation through a What Would Jesus Do lens. If you're an entrepreneur and you love Jesus, then this is the place for you. We are going to be looking at eternal principles to inspire us to the next level where we create wealth and make an impact. Are you ready for the power of a kingdom perspective? Thank you for tuning in. Without wasting any more time, let's get to it. Thank you again for joining us. I'm your host, Priscilla Shumba, and today's episode is about focus. This is the one thing that if we do right, could really change our outcome. Think about it this way. You're ready to take a picture of someone. You're standing still and you're ready and you're in position, but they keep moving around. So you're out of focus. You're not going to get a very good picture. You're not going to get a good outcome. This couldn't be more timely. The times that we're living in, things are changing constantly. We need to renew our focus, re-energize, and go back all in. If we get this right, this could make a huge difference to our outcome. Well, what's the starting point for refocus? Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says, begin with the end in mind. What is it that we're trying to accomplish? Where is it that we're trying to go? The beauty of the entrepreneur's journey is that when you start out, you have this bigger picture of where you're trying to go. And as you begin to move, things become clear to you what you need to do and what steps you need to take. And even the big picture becomes clearer. It's good practice to always go back and ask yourself, is this taking me where I'm trying to go? Let's begin with the end in mind. Jeff Bezos is well known for running Amazon with the startup mentality. This company has been in business since 1995, but their mentality and the secret, I think, to a lot of their success has to do with the startup mentality. Not being stuck in doing things a certain way, but always being willing to change and adapt. That's what startups do well. That's why it's important for us to always refocus. Proverbs 29 verse 18 says, which of you desiring to build a house does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? So the idea of planning and beginning with the end in mind, reverse engineering our steps, is also biblical. We don't just start. We think of where we're going to go and then we work backwards. So we reverse engineer our success. Proverbs 29 verse 18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Losing our focus is very, very dangerous, because when you lose your focus, you're done. We can't do everything and we can't do it all well. When we know where our end is, questions like, does this move me forward? Is this the best use of my time? Is this the best use of our resources? Become much easier to answer. They become much easier to answer because we're clear. And that clarity helps us to really have a bullseye on what we're trying to get done, improving our chances of success. Be all in. Time is limited. Don't think about, oh, I can do this tomorrow, or maybe we'll improve this tomorrow. Be all in and be all in today. Legacy is unmade in heaven, and heavenly treasures are not stored on earth. The only time to be the hands and feet of God in what you do is now. Don't keep waiting for an opportune time or a perfect scenario. Begin today to be all in achieving your vision. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead where you are going, there is neither working nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. This verse is basically telling us, do it now. The only time you have to do what it is that you've set out to do is now. Procrastination and delaying things that we know need to be done are very dangerous. There's so much competing for our time. That's why being clear about our purpose is a necessity. Even good ideas can be a distraction if they don't line up with our vision. And our being distracted is robbing future generations of the inheritance that we should leave them. Proverbs 13 verse 22 says, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. We have an obligation to leave an inheritance for our children and their children, and the time that we have now is the time to get focused and get that done. We don't know how long we're going to be on this earth, but our obligation doesn't care about that. So let's refocus and let's do things now. I'm going to read a very popular quote from the late Steve Jobs. People think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on, but that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas that there are. You have to pick carefully. I'm actually as proud of the things we haven't done as the things I have done. Innovation is saying no no to 1,000 things. That's a really profound insight into the idea of focus. Because usually we think of focus as focusing on the thing that we want to do, rather than thinking of focus as eliminating the things that we don't want to do, freeing up our time and our resources to go to the place where they are most likely to bear fruit. That's focus. There are a lot of things that can make us money, but we can't be involved in everything. Where is it that if we put our attention is likely to give us the highest return? Let's talk about the process of getting our focus back. How do we get our focus back? We have to take the time to sit down and think. It sounds pretty basic, huh? But there's power in thinking. Every once in a while, stop the machine and take a look at what is happening. Take the time to think, to research, and to address your own blind spots and the blind spots of your team. Scan your environment. In business, we call this the PESTLE analysis. PESTLE. The P stands for political. Look at what's happening politically. How does that impact your business? Look at what's happening economically and understand how that's impacting your business. Look at what's happening socially. Look at what's happening technologically. Look at what's happening environmentally. And then look at what's happening legally and how that will impact your business. All these things are really important to addressing our focus. If there's going to be a new government in your country, what are the ideals? Is it free market? Is it socialism? That impacts your business. Economically, is the economy slowing down? Is it picking up? What does that mean for your business? Are there opportunities or do you have to get lean? Socially, people are changing. The demographic that you're targeting, what are their tastes like? How are their tastes changing? And how does that impact you? Technologically, how are things being done today? Is the way you're doing things irrelevant? Is it inefficient? How do you keep up with the way that you reach your customer technologically? Environmentally, the impacts of global warming. What is your customer thinking about this? How does that impact you? Legally, things are changing every single day, and it's important to get on top of privacy policies, for example. How does that impact the way you're running your online business? All these things matter. The better we are at sitting down and thinking about all these issues that we see and all these aspects of how change is happening in our society, the less likely we are to be surprised. In business, surprise is never a good thing. After taking all these things into consideration, what is the one thing that will get all the dominoes rolling in your business? What do you need to do? What do you need to get into place for that one thing to be right? We can't tackle everything, but we should be able to identify the most important thing to tackle that will make everything else easier. Gary Keller has a book titled The One Thing that I highly recommend. All the different things that we're trying to juggle, let's put them into perspective. John F. Kennedy used to say, a rising tide lifts all the boats. Think about the story of Kodak. Kodak went from being this huge corporation, very successful over the decades, to going into bankruptcy. You can go from being focused on the right thing to being focused on the wrong thing without making any change, because things are changing. Technology would have changed. Forbes.com has an article about how Kodak failed, written by Chan Kai-Mui. He basically says that the failure of Kodak was a strategic failure, that they invented digital photography. Just imagine that. They invented digital photography, but they were so in love with their success in film photography that even though they predicted the disruption of film photography by digital photography, they didn't change their strategy. They stood still, kept things going, and were soon out of focus. The new economy requires us to learn new skills, to unlearn outdated skills, and to relearn the new way of doing old things. I'll repeat that. The new economy requires us to learn new skills, unlearn outdated practices, and relearn the new way of doing old things. What is it going to take to level up your business? What is it going to take to level up your venture? What do you as a leader need to focus on? Which direction should the business be moving on? What's the business focus? And then look at your team. What's the skill set that your team needs to learn to be able to be aligned with the focus? And these things come together, you'll get the impact of focused synergy. Stephen Covey says, synergy is what happens when 1 + 1 = 10, or 100, or even 1,000. It's the profound result of when two or more respectful human beings determine to go beyond their preconceived ideas to meet a great challenge. Oh, that's beautiful, isn't it? So let's refocus. Focus has to be holistic. We have to all adapt to change. Continually refocus. Things move. It's a continual process, taking that time to sit down and to think things through, drawing on people who are experts in various fields to give you an idea of how things are changing and how that could possibly impact you, even if they're not in your industry. Don't lose sight of your goals, because if you lose your focus, you're done. Winston Churchill is quoted as saying, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." Think of the story of Peter walking on water. He did the impossible because his focus was on Jesus, the one who can do the impossible. Matthew 14 verse 30 says, "Come," said Jesus to Peter. Then Peter got down out of the boat and walked on water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and took hold of Peter. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" Powerful words. You of little faith, why did you doubt? As we begin the process of refocusing, we begin with the end in mind, and we go all in to make sure that we get to where we're going. Be conscious that time is limited. Let's keep the faith, knowing that the one who began the good work in us will continue until the day is coming. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." Focus is an acronym. Follow one course until success. Follow one course until success. There's an anonymous quote that says, "Success is failure refocused." So let's refocus. This is the one thing that we can do today that will change everything. Intentionality and focus. If you got some nuggets out of today's episode, please do let us know. Help us to serve you better by joining the discussion on YouTube at Reinventing Perspectives, or drop a comment on our website, reinventingperspectives.com. Until then, see you next episode. Stay well.